If you've done any billing for a private practice before, then you've probably used this form. This is a CMS 1500 form. I did a video before that went through what is on the CMS 1500 form. So if you haven't seen that video, I'm going to link it above and below so that you can check it out and see if you have any questions about where to put certain things. But in today's video, we're going to be discussing where you should put specific numbers on the CMS 1500 form, why, what it means, and why it would actually get rejected or denied if you do not put these numbers on the form. Now remember, you can send the claim form electronically, you can send it manually or on paper, by the mail, the fax. You can send it in different ways. Of course, electronically is more faster and more efficient, so that's probably the best way and the fastest way you can do it. But I want to show it to you on a actual paper claim so that you can know where it actually goes. You can know the foundation, just in case if your electronic system is not working, you can still send out your claims and get them paid. So keep watching if you're interested in finding out where to put the numbers on your claim forms so that they will not get denied or rejected. Keep watching. My name is Tamika, and I'm a certified professional biller and a certified practice manager. Thank you for joining me if you're new, and thank you for coming back if you are returning. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, tap that little red button below and share it with other medical billers so that we can all join the family, learn more about billing. Like the video if you like it, and please comment below because I also make sure that I answer all the comments that you guys leave below. I also wanted to let you guys know, if you haven't already known, I'm giving away a book that I'm going to put on the screen when I reach 1,000 subscribers, and we are pretty close. So I'm excited to see who the lucky winner is. It is a book that if you are already a biller, if you're interested in billing, you will find some type of value within this book. So let's jump into the video. So the first number that is extremely important is the insured ID number. It is also known as the member number, the ID number, the member number, the member ID, if I didn't say that already. There are different terms that you can use, but actually on the paper claim form, it says insured ID number, and it is in box 1A. Now, this number is a unique number that is on an insurance card, and it is different for each insurance. So if you have Cigna insurance or Blue Cross or, Aetna or whatever insurance you might have, your numbers are going to be unique to you and they're going to be different. Your ID numbers can be numerical for certain insurances, or it can be alphanumeric for others. It's just how the insurance wants to identify the subscriber or the insured. They will decide how much numbers is in the ID number and, what it looks like as far as it being letters or numbers or a combination of both of them. It is also important that this number is on your claim form when you send it out, because this is the way that the insurance company identifies the patient. This is one of the ways that they identify the patient. So if you don't have on your ID number, then the insurance will not know who you're speaking about. Also, in the office, this is what you would use. The front desk would use it to check eligibility and verify coverage. And the back office billing would use it when it's time to follow up on claims and follow up on a status. Also, if you do not know the patient's ID number, you can use their social security number, which is not really used too much now because you know most people don't like to give their social security number. So knowing the ID number is extremely important. Again, if you don't have that on the claim, then your claim will most likely be rejected. It probably won't even go through your clearinghouse to get processed or adjudicated by the insurance. So the second number is the referring provider's NPI. So let's discuss what an NPI is quickly. An NPI is the National Provider Identifier Number, and it is a 10-digit number that's unique to an individual or organization. The individual has a type 1 NPI and the organization has a type 2 NPI number. So the referring provider's NPI goes into box 17B. And a referring provider is the provider that sends the patient for care to another provider who then performs the services. You don't always need to have a referring provider's NPI on your claim. It just depends on what you're doing, what you're sending that patient for, who you're sending them to. So services such as home health, DME, hospice, and others would need a referring provider in order to send out their claims. So the person who's actually doing the billing needs the referring provider's information, their NPI, in order to put on their claim so that they can get billed for the services. When I bill for pain medicine, there's services that need referring providers. And just know that a referring provider is not always a different provider. It can actually be the same provider who the patient went to and they are billing for a certain service. So for example, CPT code 80305, which is a drug test, presumptive direct optical observation, that is a service that may be done in a pain medicine office. And the referring provider and the rendering provider could be the same provider. You don't necessarily have to be different providers, but the insurance does need to know who the referring provider is, whether or not it's a different provider or the same provider. So if that number is not on the claim form and it needs to be because of a specific code, that claim will be rejected. Most of the time, and especially with Medicare, they wouldn't even process it. It would actually be rejected. Other insurers may process it and deny it, but either way, you're not getting paid and you need to get paid for your services that you render. So make sure that if you need a referring provider on a specific claim, make sure you have that referring provider's information and their NPI. Then we have the rendering provider, like I was stating, the rendering provider's NPI. And this number is put in box 24J. Now, the rendering provider is the provider who actually performs the services on the patient. And you need to put this on the claim form because the insurance needs to know who's doing the services. You don't want to have your CPT codes down and a date of service and everything, and the insurance has no idea who the provider is. Now remember, the NPIs are unique to a specific provider, so you don't have to put the name of the provider in the rendering provider's box. You're putting the NPI, and that NPI is going to link to whatever provider has that number. And if they don't have the NPI there, again, it's going to be rejected or denied because they don't know who's rendering the services. They don't even know if that person is a healthcare professional or a physician. And so they're not going to pay you if they don't know who is providing the services. Then there's the federal tax ID number. This number is usually put in box 25, and it can be your EIN number, which is your employer identification number, or your social security number. You can use either one and put this in box 25. I would recommend for any provider, especially one who's new, to get a EIN number, whether it is a sole proprietor or a LLC, that you get your EIN number, because you are going to need to put this on all the claims, and I don't think you want to just give out your social security number like that. So I would say to get an EIN number so that you can make sure that that's the number that you're using. Now, you get your EIN number through the Internal Revenue Service. You can apply for it. It's free. But you need to make sure that you get that number, and that will be the number that you use on all of your claims when it's time to get paid. This is also the way that the IRS kind of tracks you. They can see how much you're getting paid from different insurance companies. It's basically a money thing, and they want to know how much money you're getting and if you're reporting the monies that you are getting from these different insurance companies. Your tax ID number is a 9-digit number. And again, it can be for individuals or for organizations. Then we have the Service Facility Location NPI. And the service location is where the services were actually taking place, whether that's in the office or a facility or, the hospital. This is where you would put so that the insurance will know where the services actually took place. So if it was done in, let's say, the hospital and not your office, you need to know the hospital's NPI, which is most likely a type 2 NPI because they are a facility. You'll put that there so that they can know it wasn't done in your office. It was done by you, but it wasn't done, or it was done by the provider, but it wasn't done in the provider's office. So that is put into box 32A. If that's not there, again, your claim will be rejected or denied because, again, they don't know where the services were rendered, and it might not be rendered in a place that it's supposed to be. So they want to make sure that the services were rendered where it was approved, and then they'll be able to pay you. And last, there's the billing provider's NPI. And that is the person or the organization who's going to get paid for the services that's provided. You're going to put this NPI in box 33A, and this is the person who's getting paid for it. Now, you might say, what do you mean by the person who's getting paid for it? Because isn't it the rendering provider who gets paid for the services? He can or she can. That can be the person who gets paid for it. But it can also be an actual organization that gets paid for it. So, for example, if I have a practice called ABC Gynecology and Dr. A works for me, Dr. A is the person who renders the services, but ABC Gynecology is who actually gets paid for the service. However they disperse that is up to the doctor and the practice, but the monies are coming to the banks or made out to ABC Gynecology. If it's a solo provider and he or she wants to get paid themselves, it's not necessarily a practice, it's like an individual solo practice, then it could be made out to the actual doctor's name. It just depends on how they want it and how it's set up in the insurance system. But the billing provider does not necessarily have to be the rendering provider. Even though the rendering provider is the one who does the services, the organization or the rendering provider could be the one that gets paid. I also wanted to mention that type 1 NPI is for the individual, and you as the provider or the physician, you would have a type 1 NPI, and that NPI goes with you wherever you go, whether it is a solo practice, whether you move to a multi-specialty practice, whether you go to the hospital, you will always have that one NPI number. It goes with you wherever you go. The type 2 NPIs are for organizations, and it is for that specific organization, but it will not move around. If you have another organization, then that new one will have a new NPI. I hope I explained that well, but as far as individuals, the type 1, when you sign up for your NPI specifically under your name, that goes with you wherever you go. Now, if you've noticed, all of the numbers that I've given you needs to be on the claim form. The only one that is not mandatory unless the specific code is used is the referring provider's NPI. But all of the other ones need to be on every claim that you send out all of the time, or else it's going to get denied or rejected. So just make sure that you know what these numbers are. Make sure you're using the right ones. And especially if you're working for someone who has multi specialties or multi providers, you will make sure that you put the right numbers in the right places so that the right people will get paid for the services that they provide. Hope that was helpful, and I will see you again in my next video.